Nice to see everyone here tonight, and what an incredible event that Ed has organized. Could we give him a hand just to say thank you for doing this? Hopefully it's the first of many Noir at the bar. I've never read this in public before because this is from an ebook that I published a couple months ago, and I found that you don't really do book events when you have an ebook, because there's nothing to sign unless you want to sign the screen of someone's Kindle, which I did once with a Sharpie, and this guy never forgave me. So I'm really happy to be reading this. I have an ebook called Erased, and in that book is a novella called Forsaken. So I'm going to read you the first chapter from that. Warsaw, Poland, 1944. Aaron Roskowski had 32 seconds to unlock the door, and the cold made his fingers numb. He clutched the keys together so they stayed silent. From a few blocks away came the diesel growl of patrol trucks. The sun's weak winter light was fading, and dark wind knifed through Aaron's coat. Above him, fast-moving clouds pulled themselves apart. Aaron picked through the keys, casting nervous glances at Isaac. Isaac kept lookout. This had been his idea. Now Aaron saw evening light fall from Isaac's face. The first week of November. Next month you might see Christmas trees in the windows, their candlelight bright. Perhaps even a menorah in the ghetto. Anything to bring a little light into the darkness. Right now the darkness worked against him. He tried another key. This should have been easy. Hadn't he unlocked this very door hundreds of times? As assistant to the music shop's owner, Aaron had full access, but that was months ago. Almost a year since he had last seen Jaworski's shop. Or Jaworski himself, for that matter. The Nazis had invaded Aaron's home, swarmed across it, blacked out his country like army ants. Then Nazis captured Jews, forced them to live inside walled ghettos. Jews in a ghetto. What a novel idea. But the Nazis wanted more than to merely separate them. Even Aaron had to admit that now. Anxiety crippled his fingers as he worked the first lock. If the searchlight came by now, if they were discovered in this doorway, fussing with the ring of keys, "Hurry," Isaac whispered. There, the first lock grudgingly snapped open. The door was weak. Aaron could have broken through, but that would have given away their location. He took a deep breath, found the second key, and they ducked inside the door just as the blue searchlight swept past. Had the Nazis spotted them? Aaron held his breath and listened. The street stayed quiet. He took a moment to blow into his cold hands. He could barely feel them. In the ghetto, they had taken to burning books to try and stay warm. For Jews to do that, it meant they were becoming experts at doing what they had to. Reluctant students learning harsh lessons. Aaron took the stairs two at a time. He was only 16, but tall for his age, with dark blonde hair and the blue eyes of an old man. Isaac, his friend from childhood, was shorter, with black hair and his father's pale face and ready smile. They were the same age, but where Aaron was tall and slow to speak, Isaac was short and fast. Their friend said Isaac's words came out faster than bullets from a machine gun. His short legs scrambled to keep up. The staircase was narrow and the walls pressed in as though trying to force them back. The shop door was still locked. Good. If the Nazis had been here, the door would have been in pieces on the floor. Aaron went in first, with Isaac closing the door softly behind them. They stopped, looked with reverence and wide eyes at what hung from the walls. Aaron sighed. This sight before him always made him feel light, hopeful, even now. Hanging on their pegs, still in their neat order, were violins, violas, and cellos. Beautiful dark wood, delicate curves, perfectly straight strings, and bows of thick horsehair. In the air were the earthy smells of sawdust and rosin and glue. Somehow this tiny room had escaped the insanity that raged outside. Somehow the black virus that had spread its way into Aaron's homeland had not encroached this far. Not yet. The two of them searched the rooms. It was Aaron who found it, the dove. He held it near the window, studied the play of streetlight and shadow on its varnished surfaces. He dared not play it, but couldn't help himself from plucking an open string. Though it had been patched and repaired over the years, the wood was still beautiful. He turned the violin over, gazed into the F-holes that were carved with such care and precision. He did not need to read the yellow piece of paper inside to know that this violin was made in Cremona, Italy, over 200 years ago. Aaron was an apprentice, learning to make violins, and in his hands was something he thought was impossible, a perfect instrument. Aaron's family was gone. His mother and father, his uncles and aunts and cousins, taken by the Nazis. His sister Mara had also been taken, but Aaron chose to believe she was still alive. He promised himself he would keep this violin, her violin, safe until the war was over. But how? Isaac loved Mara ever since they were children. So this night, Isaac had persuaded Aaron to remove yellow stars from their sleeves to escape the ghetto. The penalty for both of these actions was death. In his naivete, Aaron believed the Nazis could kill you only once. Now they needed a case in which to carry the dove. Isaac found one, and Aaron had just settled the dove inside when they heard a crash. Booted feet tromped up the stairs. The doorknob turned. A fist banged down the door, then went right through it. The door splintered as pieces of wood flew into the shop. A black-gloved hand worked the inside doorknob. Aaron was afraid, for himself, of course, but also for Isaac. Stupid for him to do this, to listen to his friend. The dove was an object, not worth a human life. Black-booted skulls swarmed into the room. In this time of war, Jews in Warsaw had four enemies: the Poles, who had barely tolerated Jews before the war, ethnic Germans, the Wehrmacht, and the Skulls. The Skulls were the elite. They came from the Totenkopf SS and had death head insignia sewn onto their black uniforms. Their preferred weapon was a sawed-off shotgun, 5 of which they now pointed at Aaron and Isaac. Aaron glanced at the instruments. The Skulls would destroy everything. The leader, wearing a uniform Aaron had never seen before, walked through the soldiers, his hands pressing down on the barrels of their shotguns. The uniform was obsessively neat in appearance, as though the man had just come from the tailor. The leader pushed out his barrel-chested tunic, regarded Aaron and Isaac with bulging eyes, as if affronted by their very existence. "You are Stanislaw Jaworski?" he asked Isaac. The man's Polish was nearly unintelligible. Isaac stared at him. The Nazi unsnapped something on his black leather belt and unholstered a Luger. He pushed the barrel into Isaac's chest. "Are you Jaworski?" Isaac's pale face was frozen. He couldn't move his tongue to speak. Without hesitation, the man pulled the trigger. The quiet of the room was shattered by the gunshot. The shot's concussion made all the instruments jump on their pegs as if startled, their strings vibrating in protest. Isaac gasped. His hands went to his chest as his eyes closed. He fell, his blood pooling beneath him. The man with the gun swiveled to Aaron, gauging his reaction. Aaron couldn't move. His legs were hip-deep in quicksand. "Are you Jaworski?" For one terrible instant, Aaron could not remember who Jaworski was. While fear wrapped itself around Aaron's brain, a tiny part remembered. Jaworski was the shop owner, a luthier and musicologist, a Catholic Pole, but one who hated the Nazis. He had always treated Aaron's family with respect, with kindness. Thoughts raced through his brain while the Nazi pressed his gun into Aaron's chest. All he could think of was that he must not upset this man, this Nazi whose finger was beginning to tighten on the trigger. "Yes," Aaron said. "Yes, I am Jaworski." The man's bulging gray eyes, the color of dirty snow, immobilized Aaron. If this man were to count 3 before he started shooting, Aaron would have simply stood there, rooted to the ground. The gray eyes searched his own, then the man nodded as if reaching a conclusion. "You are a lucky man," the Nazi told him, taking the gun barrel away and holstering the Luger. "I am Colonel Garrick. Today you have the honor of joining the Sonderstab music. You have heard of us, perhaps?" "No." Garrick shrugged. He made a negligent gesture to the body on the floor. "Who was that?" A boy. He was to help me, and an apprentice." "A pity." Garrick looked up at the instruments, their strings still trembling. "These instruments are now property of the Reich. You, Jaworski, will notate the violin's make and year as we collect them." The Skulls were not gentle with the instruments. Aaron groaned when a soldier grabbed the case containing the dove. Thank you.